Chodesh Tov, a gebenchte Chodesh, a blessed new month for everybody. And I'm excited for tonight's class to share with you something very inspiring and something very, very empowering. So we're entered into the zone. We're in the zone now. We're in a complete different zone. We're in the most powerful time of the year. We're generally, a lot's been going on in the world this past year. A lot is going on around us. As humans, we are observers of what takes place around us. And we are kind of, move through life and need to navigate whatever is being set in front of us. And of course, we have free choice and so on and so forth. And but here's the great thing about the time that we're in right now is that we are we're co-creators with God. We co-create together the world, the future, and so on and so forth. We design it. And that's true all the time. But when it comes this time of the year, which is the month leading into the high holidays, which is the time of the most powerful time that God has given us to affect, to have impact, and our impact, to have enormous impact in creating the future, in creating for sure the up and coming year, and even more than that. So this is the month of Elul. It's the month of introspection. It's a month of renewal, rejuvenation. It's a month of focus. More than everything, it's a month to get deep. We all have times in our lives when we are more superficial, more on the external side. And then there is a time that we have to go deep into our inner soul, access our great powers. And that's a tshuva process. It's all a process of repentance. It's all the process of ani ledodi v'dodi li, the acronym of the month of Elul, the month that we're in right now. The name of the month is Elul. Elul stands for ani ledodi, I am to my beloved is to me, my beloved is God. We are to God, God is to us. We forge, we bond together, and together we bring all the light and all the blessing into the world. So tonight is the high energy. Tonight we actually enter into the moments. Right now we're entering into the moments of the month of Elul, even though today was already Rosh Chodesh, the first day, but it was still the month of Av. The second day of Rosh Chodesh Elul is when actually this is the first day of the month of Elul. This is when it's really happening. And notwithstanding our inequities, notwithstanding maybe our failures, our mistakes we've made, whatever it is that we've been perhaps regretful of, or we don't feel so good about ourselves, about our lives until now, or maybe whatever. Now, the month of Elul is the time that we can leave an entire dark past behind and start fresh leaf, fresh new page, turn over the page. Why? Because God's mercy, God's compassion is in full throttle. The thing that happens instantly as the month of Elul descends onto the world is that the world is being showered, as I speak right now, with these incredible rose petals that are falling from the sky. And these rose petals that are coming down, white roses and red roses, as they are descending from the highest, infinite heights. The 13 attributes of mercy are referred to as the 13 petals of the rose. And it says, that's why it says in the words, ani ledodi, in the verse, we spoke about it on Thursday night as well, last Thursday. I am to my beloved is to me. Haroah b'shashanim, the one who pastures amongst the roses. So the roses are being showered on the world. Wake up and smell the roses. The delicious scent of God's compassion, of God's love, If we are turning to God, then we're turning into deeper, inward, into our deeper selves, and trying to find the place in ourselves that has not been tainted, that has not been jaded, not been burnt. The child inside of us, the inner innocence that's deep inside of us, which we can all access right now. And when we access that, then we connect. And everything else in our lives, all the mistakes, whatever has been lousy and dark or whatever, is falls. It just falls away like an external costume. It just drops. And the deeper, truer, higher, godly self emerges. The higher human, the higher divine spark. And we connect to God in a very deep way. So what's unique this year? Every time, Elul is exciting every year. If you tune in to the Hasidic way of life, Elul is not a time of intimidation, but rather it's a time of joyful connection. And the truth is, Rosh Hashanah is intimidating. And a month from now, we're going to be facing God. And it is a lot intimidating. Because then we have to enter in front of God as God is judging the world. He's wearing his crown of judgment. And that can be intimidating. He's judging us. He's looking sternly. Of course, over there's also a tremendous amount of kindness and compassion. However, the mode is a mode of strictness. That's Rosh Hashanah. But the month before that, as the great Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad Chassidism, explained it in the most beautiful words, that the king is in the field. The king is relaxed. The king is cool. The king he's not uptight. He's coming out. He's very, very, very accessible, very open. And the Alter Rebbe says he's smiling to everyone. That's so important to remember. And we're going through an entire month that God is smiling to us. And there's nothing that he wants more than we should come by and say hello. How are you, God? How are you doing? How is your project in creation coming along? I want to take part. I want a bigger role. I want to be part. And if I wasn't tuning in too much till now, I'm ready to tune in now to what's important to you. That's what the work is. That's the month of Elul. But what's special this year? What's unique? We always have to look for the unique. This year, it's like off the charts. And I'd like to reveal a secret that we have this year, never before. Something enormous that hit me last week when I was learning something. And I taught something on Thursday last week, not publicly on this channel, but in Hebrew to a Hebrew audience on a Zoom. And I teach a weekly class. And I was suddenly blown away by what I learned. It's a talk the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, gave in the year 1991. And I taught it on this channel as well, in Kita Redemption. There's a whole series of Kita Redemption, which I have to get back to. It's like a bunch of things that I've started and didn't finish. So I have to get back to the Kita Redemption. And I don't remember the title of this one. It was the Rebbe's talk of 1991, which were the most powerful talks. And I probably gave 4 or 5 classes on this particular talk. I don't remember what I titled it individually. It's Parshas Re'eh talk. But I don't remember seeing it in the way that I saw it when I learned it, when I taught it a week ago, or less than a week ago, last week, Thursday. And the insight it gave me. But the unique thing that came out of it that's particularly pertinent and works this year that we didn't have before. So that's what I want to focus on. So this is an incredible, empowering, joyful class. So if you want to be depressed and down and heavy, please get off the channel right now. But if you're looking to have an uplifting experience and inspired yourself and come into the month with a positive attitude, with a deeper understanding of who you really are and what we are capable of, stay with me. We're going to try to make this class pretty short because I have to be somewhere soon. But here we go. We jump right into it. So, as mentioned, there's a verse in Song of Songs which says, I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. Beautiful verse. So romantic. Us and God. I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. And we know that that's contrasted with another verse in Song of Songs which says the exact same message, but in the reverse order. My beloved is to me and I am to him. Dodi li, my beloved is to me and I am to him. So why is King Solomon, the author of this song, of this love song, why did he switch the order? Why does he repeat it twice? And the answer is the order. The order, that's the idea. It's a romance between us and God. It's a bonding. And when you bond, there are different nuances and different channels or manners in which a unification, a deeper love comes together between a couple, between a husband and a wife, between a bride and a groom, whatever it is. It can work in many different ways. I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me implies that we have to make the first move. We need to reach, we need to catch our beloved's attention. Our beloved is kind of busy. God is busy running the cosmos. He's doing a whole bunch of big things. And we got to attract him. And that's what it means. I am to my beloved. My beloved is to me and I am to him means that there are times in life that God, for whatever reason, decides to reach out for us because we mean so much to him. And he does something from above, even though we're distracted, even though we might be completely immersed in materialistic pursuits, totally forgetting about our bond and our relationship with God, the mitzvos, studying Torah, thinking about the purpose of life. We're not there at all, and God tickles us. Something happens, hopefully something beautiful, but something that inspires us and pulls and gets our attention. God sends us a surprise love note, and we catch it, and it triggers us. So we know it's like this and like this, and in different times in life, it works differently. With different people, it works differently. Everybody's different, and in our own lives, we look at our own spiritual lives, we can see that there are times that, for whatever reason, we studied something, we learned something, and we became inspired to increase our spiritual awareness. That means it's coming from us first. And then we've gone on a journey, and we've seen afterwards God did miracles for us, and we saw divine providence, incredible things happening. That's the method of I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. Sometimes it's the opposite. As we say, that something, person, God forbid, was in a situation where they almost had an accident and a terrible thing could have happened, and literally miraculously they were saved and they're shooken up, and that is enough to make them think about the purpose of life. That manner is that God did that to the person for that reason. It's God being romantic in his interesting way of shaking us, but he wants the relationship. So even if it takes giving us a little bit of or giving a person a little bit of a shock, that's how he draws the person in, whatever it takes. So the month of Elul is the time of the year, which is this particular time of the year, is where the expectations is from us to make the first move. God expects us to begin, to start, to initiate in the relationship, to be the first one to act. And how do we know that? Because the words ani ledodi v'dodi li, the first letters of each word spell the word Elul. So over here it's told to us that in the month of Elul, we need to reach out towards our Creator and say we're here, we're ready. Okay, so this is the way we've given hundreds of classes about this. Not hundreds, but a lot, tens of classes in all the years about this concept. How I am to my beloved. This is the season of the year. Passover, it's a different season. Springtime, it's like you see spring. God doesn't wait for anybody. God starts making all the trees bud and flowers start coming out, and the world becomes so fresh and beautiful. And then if we're only a little bit, have a little bit of gratitude, then we respond to God's kindness, that from the cold winter, he bursts out a beautiful spring. So then our hearts swell with gratitude and we respond to God. Now, in the end of the summer, that doesn't happen. It's upon us to act first, and that's the month of Elul. We do teshuvah, we become more serious in our lives, and then God responds to us with the great holidays. He forgives our sins, showers us with his infinite blessings and love and light in the holiday of Sukkot and in the holidays of Simchas Torah and the like. So this is all like God responding to us. So the Rebbe asks a question, and the question is as follows, that the Torah portion, which we read not this week, but this past Shabbos, which is the Torah portion that blesses the month of Elul, and we always know that the Shabbos before a month carries within it the energy, the power to infuse the month with its vitality, with its energy. We draw down God's blessings. And the Torah portion that we read on that Shabbos very much contains the nutrients, the spiritual nutrients. It gives us the proper files that we need. It downloads through the Torah. God is downloading to us everything we need to be able to have a successful month, both in spiritual and material blessings. So if that's the case, it would seem to be that the Torah portion has to reflect the energy, unique flavor of the month. And since the month of Elul is a month in which we are supposed to self-inspire ourselves, we're supposed to generate, we have to start it off, and then God will take over from there. But first we need to stimulate things, we need to stir the pot on our own. Then you would expect that the Torah portion would be a Torah portion that would be conveying that type of a message. However, if you look at the first verse in last week's Torah portion, it opens up with the words, Anochi Nosein Lifneichem hayom es habracha. See, God says, I am giving to you today the blessing. So what kind of connotation does that have? If God says, look, hey there, look. So first of all, the fact that he's calling to us to look means that he's showing us something. So who's starting, we or him? It's not us, it's him. He's telling us, see, look, see. Which means he's calling our attention to see something. And also vision, when you see something, it's more of like an experience coming from up down, coming from God to us, from a higher place to us. Because when you see something, as opposed to hearing, sometimes God says, if you will listen. When you listen to something, you listen to it according to your capacity. You take it in bit by bit, piece by piece. When you're seeing something, you're being shown the entire picture at once. So it's somewhat of something that is being projected to us, revealed to us, and we're recipients of that vision. And then that's the next word. After it says see, it says Anochi. God is talking about himself. I am. So number one, he's telling us see. He's the one telling us to look. Anochi means I am. It's something which is referring to God. He is doing. And look at the third word. Nosein Lifneichem. I am putting in front of you. I'm setting the table in front of you. I'm placing something before you. And what am I placing? Es habracha, all the incredible infinite blessings. So it's very, 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 very much a form of divine channeling of blessings and goodness, which would be so appropriate if this would have been the Torah portion before the month of Nisan, which is the month of Passover, when God is the one who initiates, God is the one who awakens us. But when it comes to the month of El, God says, I want you very much, but I will not make the first move. It's like, we all see that. We have that sometimes in our relationships. We very much want to be closer to our spouse, but for whatever reason, we feel that it's upon them, and we're going to sit there and sulk it up until they decide to reach out for us. And sometimes you end up sitting and waiting, and then you get very frustrated. But that's the way it is. And God is waiting. He's waiting for us to do something. So how does it fit this Torah portion? I am giving before you a blessing. That's the question. It's a long talk, but then there is the gist of the answer. And I'm going right to the gist of the answer, which is like the essence of it. It's unbelievable. So special. And he says, of course, God is not going to interfere. The work needs to be done by us. He will reciprocate enormously if we just make a little effort to get closer to him. No question. However, he still gives us a blessing. This past Shabbos, he gives us a big blessing. What's the blessing? The blessing that we get at the beginning of the week before Rosh Chodesh Elul, this past Shabbos, that means we have already this blessing, is that when we come out and when we search for ourselves, ani ledodi, when we bring ourselves, as we said earlier, when the king is in the field. So the king is in the field, but it's upon us to come out to the field. We will only meet the king if we come out to greet the king in the field. But when we come out to greet the king, we should come with our highest, deepest, godliest self. We should identify it's upon us. Of course, it's upon us. We need to come, but we need to figure out who is the one who is coming. Who am I really? And for that, we get a unique blessing in the month of Elul. That when we come to greet the king, we should come in our bestest, highest, deepest, purest, godliest self. And within that state of mind, our highest, we should see ourselves for who we really are. We should approach the king. We should approach the king. Not as a little tiny peepsqueak nobody, which sometimes we reduce ourselves to. But we should come to the king with our super persona, with our infinity exposed, and to walk into the field. So when the king looks at us, he sees us as someone so important, someone incredibly important. And as we're going to see, not only does he see us as a subject, but he can see us as literally a reflection of him, or even deeper than a reflection of him, a piece of his essence. And then he's not meeting a tiny little time and space bound, infinitesimally small creation. He's meeting a super giant of a soul with enormous power. And then the blessings and the capacities that we have and the ability, when we charge ourselves in the month of Elul, we charge ourselves by plugging into the king, by connecting to the king. Who are we charging? We're charging the enormity of our being, not the small little imaginary, small little, tiny little nobody that we thought we were. That's the blessing. The blessing is to come out to greet the king as the true self, who you really are. Now, what's so amazing about this, let's break this down and let's understand this a little, is that generally we say that the month of Elul is a time when, as I mentioned earlier, we need to strip away the external self and connect to our higher self. That's the whole process of tshuva, to become serious, which means to realize I'm not a animal, God forbid. I'm not a physical beast in this world, living a material, physical life of just physical enjoyment and pleasure, seeking just to enhance my physical life. But rather, I'm a deeper human being. I have a soul and I have a spirit. So first of all, to look at ourselves as spiritual beings in a physical body. That's number one. Right? So we don't see ourselves as physical. We see ourselves as spirit in a physical body. And therefore, our ambitions in lives, our desires in life is to live a more spiritual existence, which means a more godlier existence for a higher purpose. So that's number one. Of course, that's part of a tshuva process, because as life, the physical life, does to us a lot of times, is because of the obscurity and the concealments of the material physical world. We identify only our most external needs and our external identity. We see ourselves literally as here to make money, exert, influence, get attention, and do what? And eat and sleep and have a good time and have fun, and that's life. Until, God forbid, we realize, oh, we're so old, what did I accomplish? What did I really do in my life? And it really, really hurts. And then it's kind of late already. Of course, it's never too late. You can still always, have a true awakening, but it's good, not just good. It's absolutely crucial that we maintain this understanding throughout our life. And how do we do that? So every year, the month of Elul is that month that we need to identify deeper. We need to acknowledge our soul, recognize our soul. But in our soul itself, there's many, many layers, many, many layers. We identify the fact that we have a soul, and a soul that cares about God's purpose, a soul that loves God. And, in one of the things we do in the month of Elul is that we say the verse, a psalm we began today already. This is one of the things we start the first day of Elul. The blowing of the shofar, which we do every day, is started tomorrow, the second day of Rosh Chodesh Elul. But, however, the recital twice a day of chapter 27, with David, for King David, a song for David, Hashem Ori, God, you are my light, V'yishin, you are my salvation. We say that, we began already today. So we said it already 2 times for those that were praying and knew which. So during this prayer, there is a verse there, very powerful verse. It says, L'cha, for your sake, God. Amar libi, my heart says, Bakshu panai, seek out my face. As panecha Hashem avakesh, your face, God, I am searching for. So what are we saying over here? For you, God, my heart is saying. That means it's about you and it's for your sake. I am having a conversation with myself, with my heart. I am talking with my own thoughts. I'm talking to myself. What am I saying to myself? Bakshu panai, I am searching. I'm searching for what? I'm searching for my face. What does it mean to search for your face? Searching for your face means to search. Panai, face, means our inwardness. The face comes, because when you look at a person's face, you see their inward feet, their inside. When you look at a person's back, you only see physicality. When you look at a person's face, you see spirit. You look at a person's eyes, you can see deep. You can look into their soul. When you look at a person's face, there is expression of love, of joy, of satisfaction, of wisdom. As the pasuk says, Chochmas Adam, a sage, speaks volumes from his face. You look into very wise eyes. So you can see on a person's facial features, you can see their soul to whatever degree we can see. So the face is the window, especially the eyes, but the face in general is the window to the soul, because it allows you to peek inside to the human being. So when we're saying, for your sake, God, my heart says, Bakshu panai, seek my face, what we're really saying is, God, I don't want to be so external. I forget. Sometimes I get so carried away by the material needs in my life and the material things in my life or the pleasures of life, and that becomes my obsession, and I forget that I have a face, that I have deep inside me a reservoir of spirituality. I love you, God. I have love for you, Hashem. I have desire to get close to you. I want to live and fulfill my purpose in this world. I really, really want to do something to bring satisfaction to my infinite creator. I don't want that my life in this world should just be a missed opportunity. I want to fulfill the mission that my soul was sent into this world. These are all aspects of our inner self This is our face. So in the month of Elul, we're saying, I got to look for it. Because sometimes that deeper self gets lost. It gets covered up by the physicality of our lives. And because life is busy, because everybody around us, there's all kinds of, things that we have to take care of just to maintain ourselves physically. And as a result of that, if you don't pay attention to something, it gets lost. And that's what happens to our soul. So what we're really doing is you're searching for your soul. Bakshu panai, we search for ourselves. Now, usually, this is a process of the entire month of Elul. Because when we think we discovered our soul and we suddenly feel a deep desire of connection, we finally feel love to Hashem. And we realize, something woke up inside of me. We all have these experiences. I woke up. Something has awakened inside of me. And if you think that's all your spirituality, this is all of who you really are, your deeper soul, you haven't even begun to scratch the surface of it. Maybe you touched the outside of your soul. Then there is even a deeper chamber, which means even a deeper heart, even a deeper love, even a deeper desire, more intense, more limit, with greater intensity, with more quantity and in quality. And so the heart, the soul has layers upon layers and upon layers of deeper selves, like a deeper self. It's like opening up one of those gifts that sometimes you send and for someone, and you open up a wrapper, and under is another wrapper, and under is another wrapper, and another wrapper, and another wrapper, and another wrapper. It's like it creates an excitement for the gift. So we have to realize that we're a bunch of layers of wrappers. And even when we discover a higher self, there is even a deeper self. And that's the process of searching. And every day, that's why it's an exercise. Daily work. It's not enough. Oh, wow. Imagine if the first day of Elul, we already feel excited about being a Jew and being excited about connecting to God and doing mitzvot. That's great, but don't stop there. There's so much more intensity to your love, to your service, to your excitement, to your joy, to your pleasure in holiness. Seek more wisdom. Seek to get deeper and deeper. So usually this is a process of the entire month of Elul. Hopefully, when the time comes Rosh Hashanah, when we blow the shofar and we hear the sound of the horn, the sound, as it's explained by the Hasidic masters, it's the sound of the soul. And it's such a deep sound that it doesn't even have words. You can't express it in words. All you can do is just make noises. Because once you're saying something in words, it means that you can chop it up into pieces. It's the purity, the deepest cry of the soul. As the soul expresses its yearning to be close to God, sometimes it's a pure sobbing of the soul, the depth of how deep our connection is. So, right, that's Rosh Hashanah. And then after Rosh Hashanah, we're still climbing another 10 days until Yom Kippur. We're reaching such incredible depth. Yom Kippur, we're beyond angels. We're so high, we're dressed in white, we're fasting. We completely divest from everything physical. We're literally in a whole different zone. And of course, everybody can come Yom Kippur to that place, but it makes so much of a difference if you began the journey, if you peeled away already the external layers, so when Yom Kippur comes, you're already so deep. And then after Yom Kippur, we're not yet sliding. You go right into a sukkah, and here's where the joy kicks in. And we dance our way every night in that sukkah, and we dance and sing, and God kisses us with the four species, which are the plant, which are 4 different types because they're the 4 letters of God's name. And we put it to our heart. It's like a heart-to-heart moment. Literally, it's a kiss of God. Every time we shake it, we're supposed to bring it to our chest, our heart. It's the bonding on the deepest level. And all of that is all a preparation for the most intimate day, the day we open up the ark, take out the Torah, and we melt into oneness with God. The Torah, the Jewish people, and God are totally one. And it's indescribable. So that's Simchas Torah. So usually this is it's a process. It's to get there. What is really, really stunning to me, and this is what got me so excited when I learned this talk, was that in 1991, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said this amazing teaching. He said, we are living in a time now when we can do a massive leap and you can already enter into the month of Elul on day number 1 in that state of being, of essence, like on Simchat Torah, on Shmini Atzeres. And he says that's the meaning. And what's Shmini Atzeres? What is Shmini Atzeres? Is the 8th day of the holiday of Sukkot. And that's the day, as we say, we dance the whole time in the shul with the Torah. And in outside of Israel, we have another day, the day after, it's called Simchat Torah, which is really the 2nd day of Shmini Atzeret. It's the 8th and 9th day of the holiday of Sukkot. In Israel, there's only a 1-day holiday, which is a combination Shmini Atzeres and Simchat Torah. But that's the day. Why is that day so powerful? Because the sages tell us something really interesting. They say for 7 days of Sukkot, for 7 days of Sukkot, during the holiday, God is throwing a party. He's very happy because his kingship was renewed in Rosh Hashanah. He's king over the world. We just inaugurated him anew. He forgave the world for their sins. He is just really, really, really in a good, happy mood. And he throws a party to celebrate. During that party, he invites everybody. All the 70 nations are invited to participate. That's why in the Holy Temple, when it stood, they would offer 70 oxen. Over the holiday, 70 oxen was offered as a sacrifice, representing, according to the Torah, all of humanity is divided into 70 nations. So everybody is by the party. The 8th day, after the 7 days are over, mysteriously, we continue the holiday. It's a very, very special day. But there's only, instead of the way it works to get 70 oxen is that the first day they offered, I think, 13 oxen. And then the next day they did 12, and the next day they did 11. They worked their way down from 13, I think, down to 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. No. 12, 13. I'm sorry, 14. 1 second. It's 7 days. So what does it start? It starts with the last day is 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, I was right. It starts with 13 and it goes down to 7. But at least even the last day, which is 7, is still 7 oxen. Mysteriously, on the last day of Sukkot, the sacrifice only has 1 ox. And the sages say, what happened? What happened? Why did it suddenly drop? It's a drastic drop. So the sages say, because God is saying it's a very small party today. Because everybody went home already. Everybody left. Party's over. And they already shut down everything. Everybody left. And God whispers to the ears of the Jewish people. He says, hang out with me one more day. Now it's just me and I. It's just the two of us. We are alone. This is a very intimate moment. There's words of the Zohar. The Zohar says, Yisroel u'malko b'chodai. Israel and the king are alone. It's very intimate. It's very deep. So it is explained in Chassidus, the depth of that. It's not only that God sends the nations away. Why does everybody have to leave? Everybody has to leave because God doesn't want to deal with that. God doesn't want company then. He wants to be alone. He's done with the plan, wants to be alone. If God wants to run alone, so why are the Jewish people there? The answer is when we're there on the party, we're not there anymore as humans. We're not there as being part of creation. God is done with partying with his creation. He's going back into himself, into his absolute, infinite, divine, essential essence. So what are we doing there? The answer is, being the Jewish nation, our souls, are a piece of God's essence. So that's who we really are. It's just that we usually don't experience ourselves in that state of mind. God takes of himself a piece of himself, a piece of his essence, and creates that essence, that soul, which is a piece of the divine essence. Hashem creates it to be a creation. First, the spiritual soul with a lot of qualities. And then God lowers that soul and diminishes it more and more and more and conceals it until he incarnates it into a body and we become a physical creature in the physical world. And in order for the soul to come down from the divine essence into a physical creature, it goes through myriads and myriads of evolution, of descent. But it always remains at its core essence a piece of the essence of God. But we don't experience ourselves that way. And when we're looking at someone, we don't see that in that individual. And even God doesn't see us that way. He's seeing us in our more external self as we are a creation, a limited, finite being, and even a physical person. On Simchas Torah, all the externalities fall away. And what is revealed while we're in our bodies? That's the cool thing. While we're in our bodies, the essence of who we really are is revealed, that we are nothing more than just God, one with him. And that's why in that moment, when God is celebrating with his Torah, the Torah which is one with him, he celebrates with Israel that is also one with him. God, Israel, and the Torah are one. It's the revelation of essence. Now, we cannot go to that place unless we've usually we have to go through the entire process of cleansing, purification. We have to kind of divest ourselves from the external self. Because when we're living an external life, identifying ourselves with our externality, then that's how God, everything is measure for measure. The way we see ourselves, he sees us as well. So we go through a process of these 40 days from the beginning of the month of Elul until Yom Kippur, and then continue it into the Sukkot holiday. It's all about stripping away the external layers. So finally, Simchat Torah, we can stand in front of God as one with him. Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah, these are the two moments of the deepest, highest, innermost Jew, which is the place in our soul where we are him is revealed. In 1991, the Rebbe says that we can start already in the beginning of the month of Elul, from the place where in 1 second, we drop our external outer layers and immediately identify with who we really are at our essence and walk out into the field to greet the king, not as the limited, finite, physical human being we thought we are, but as the pristine soul. Not just the pristine soul, but the pristine essence of the soul, which is nothing less than the essence of God himself. Why? How can we do that? So let me first tell a quick story. I said this on Shabbos. I like to tell the story again. It's a fantastic story, which kind of illustrates this concept of this leap, this jump, being able to like accelerate the process. So there was a chassid of the early Chabad Chassidim, either from the Tzemach Tzedek or from the Alter Rebbe, I'm not sure which generation it was, who was once on Erev Yom Kippur, which is, Erev Yom Kippur means the day before Yom Kippur, a very, very serious day. We do our final preparations before the Day of Atonement. We're supposed to eat a meal that day more, and it's a mitzvah to eat a lot so that we can have strength to fast, but it's a very, very, very high-level, introspective, deep day. Any case, on that day once, there was a certain chassid who found out that there was a family that couldn't pay their rent to the local squire, to the local poritz. And those guys, those landlords had a lot of power those days. They made up their own rules. If someone didn't pay their rent, they can take the person. Sometimes they took the entire family and locked them up in a dungeon. So if there's a poor family that was locked up in a dungeon, and obviously it was very dangerous every moment they were there, because sometimes they would starve to death, they would suffocate to death, it was horrible, freeze to death. It was just terrible. So it was before Yom Kippur, and this family was, and the guy said, "You're not getting. I'm not letting him out until someone is going to care about you enough to pay your rent. You owe back rent for already a year you didn't pay until it's not paid." So this guy's heart went out for this poor family. It was a family, a husband, a wife with a few small children. They were in that dungeon. So he's thinking, what can he do? He tries to, but he doesn't have. Even if he collects from all the people, there was a poor community. If he goes around the shul telling people he'll collect a couple of rubles, but he needed 100 rubles. Or 300 ruble, and maybe he'll collect 20, 30 ruble. It's not enough. It's not going to work. And he can't bear the thought that they're languishing in the dungeon. So he had a thought. He goes to the bar, and the bar is all kinds of people that are there. Now you have to understand, people they were Jews who also would hang out in the bar, and most of the time the Jews that were observant, at least, were not hanging out in the bar. We have our fun on Shabbos by the Kiddush. We say a little l'chaim here and there, but it's not really a thing for Jews to go and hang out and drink themselves to a stupor. But these were Jews that were not too observant, and they're pretty wealthy, and they would go there and play poker and play all kinds of games and get drunk. And these were such Jews that were so disconnected from their Judaism that on even the day before Yom Kippur, they were hanging out in the bar. But these were the wealthy guys. So this guy decided that he's going to reach out to these people and try to, maybe before Yom Kippur, he'll be able to tell them, it's a day, guys, it's Yom Kippur. If you do a good deed before Yom Kippur, God will have mercy, forgive your sins. At least, you have so he figured he'll get, that he'll meet a bunch of them together. They can give him the money. So he walks inside to the bar and he tells the guys he's here, and they were stunned to see a guy with the beard, with the whole situation, with the whole 9 yards before Yom Kippur. They didn't know. So he tells them the situation. He's begging them, please have mercy. If you can just, I'm sure from all of you guys together, we can pull together the 300 ruble, help this poor family. And one of the guys over there was what we call a late. So late is a scoffer, someone who has, and he decided to have some fun with this guy. He said, listen here, you know what? Well, we'll help you. But it's before Yom Kippur, but it'll be nice if you have a drink. If you drink with us, he says, and he takes out his large glass and he fills it up with vodka, and he says, bottoms up. And he says, everybody over here put rubles into a hat. They collected from everybody. They collected there were like 50 rubles. Everybody put it into the hat. And he says, if you drink this right now down, but you can't stop. One shot, you take the thing down, then we give you the 50 rubles. So he's thinking, it's before Yom Kippur. The last thing he needs is he needs a sober mind. He's going to go pray tonight. He has to pray. He has to do soul searching. Yom Kippur is such a serious time. The last thing you want to do is drink a glass of vodka like that. But but that's the only way to get the money. So he figures that to help another Jew, what is he not going to do? So he takes the glass and he guzzles the whole thing down. And they're laughing and they clap for him and they give him the 50 rubles. But he still has a little bit of his mind. He says 50 rubles not going to do it. So they said, okay, we'll make another collection. You drink another cup, another glass. Anyways, this is what happened 3 or 4 times. And each time they collected more and more because they didn't believe he would do it. And by the time he was done, he had the 300 rubles. By then, he had drank down 6 glasses. Like that. The guy he barely, he was almost going to pass out. But because he was so determined to help this family, he managed to drag himself in this drunken state to the squire's place and get a message to the guard that he's got money for him, whatever. Anyways, he got the family out before Yom Kippur. And he had enough head in his... Enough, a little bit of a seichel left, a little bit of a mindfulness, enough that he knew that it's Yom Kippur, that he has to go to shul. But when he came into shul Yom Kippur, and it was somber, everybody's busy, it's like the most serious time of the year, he walked right up to the front of the shul, which is the Aron HaKodesh. He opens up the ark. Now, on Simchas Torah, the first thing we do is we say certain verses, and it's the way we open up the ark to take out the Torahs to dance with them. Now, Simchat Torah, the mood is very different than on Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is very somber, and Simchas Torah, everybody is tipsy. Because part of this incredible state that we're in is that we drink and we say l'chaim and we get into a different headspace. It's beyond our mind. It's like the happiest day of the year. So because he was so drunk, he comes in Yom Kippur and he thought it was Simchas Torah because the state that was in. So he walked over to the ark and he opens up and he starts saying the first verse of Simchat Torah, which is taking on Atahare Saladas, Atahare Saladas. And then in the middle of it, he just falls to the floor, drunken on the floor. Everybody thought the guy they never saw something like this. And they knew him generally as a serious person. So the Rebbe that was there said, oh, he's already holding by Atahares. He's there already. This guy, usually from Yom Kippur until Shmini Atzeres, is still, another 4 and 9 days or 4 and 8 days. It's 12, 13 days, which there's so many things, rituals we need to do. This guy took a leap and he's there already. So what it really, really hit me was that the Rebbe was saying that in 1991, we don't even have to wait for Yom Kippur, and you don't have to drink 6 glasses of vodka, bottoms up, in order to go there. We can actually all go there immediately to this godly state. Obviously, what the Rebbe was saying is not, oh, he's so drunk, he's already in Simchas Torah. That's not what the Rebbe was saying. The Rebbe was saying that because this person was willing to sacrifice his spiritual self, not just his physical self, his spiritual well-being, his soul's connection to God. He was willing to sacrifice that for the well-being of a family, to save their lives. That elevated him spiritually, even though he was so drunk and he didn't know what's going on with him. But it elevated his soul so spiritually, spiritually to such a high place that he was, only the divinity of his soul was shining. Only the deepest godly's essence of his soul can act in such a godly way to skip his own Yom Kippur to help another family. So the Rebbe is saying that today's days, we have a special blessing that God blesses us. In the verse, Anochi Nosein Lifneichem Maayon, it says this is what God blesses us on the week before Elul. The week before the month of Elul, God is saying, look, Anochi Nosein Lifneichem, I am giving before you the blessing. What God is essentially saying, Anochi Nosein Lifneichem, is I am giving my essence into you. That's what it means. This is the Chassidic meaning. The simple meaning is God says, I am placing before you a choice, a blessing and a curse. Choose your way. But Chassidism opens up the Torah to such a deep level. God is saying, look, I planted my essence into you. I am you. I invested not just something in you, some of my light. I invested the substance of my being into you. And that's the biggest blessing. Now, God is blessing us in the month of Elul that we should identify with that essence of God that He blessed, that He placed in us. And when should we identify with it? From the get-go. From the beginning of the month of Elul, we should already be in that state. So we're not coming into the field as a human being with all of our hang-ups and with all of our frailties and with all of our weaknesses and with all of our problems and with all of our darkness. We're walking up to the King, knowing from the very get-go that this whole story of our lives and everything is really a spiel. A spiel means it's a game that was placed upon us. It's an external external layers of being that we were enclosed in. We're playing the role like a person plays a role in a movie, in a show, in a play, or whatever it is. You play a certain role. Even though you're acting the act, you're playing the act, it's not who you really are. So to be able to shed the external layers from the very get-go, that's the blessing. But we didn't explain it why now. Good. So this was stated in the Torah already for 3,500 years. Yes, it's true. The Rebbe was the one who reveals it. Chassidism is the one who revealed to us in general that we have such a lofty soul. Kabbalah, mysticism, Chassidism reveals our true essence. But the Rebbe sees it in the words. See, I am placing before you today means God is saying, look at yourself. In the month of Elul, when you go out to greet the king, when you're going out Ani Ledodi, identify the Ani for who you really are. But where do we see that you can even connect to that level that is only revealed on Simchat Torah? He says, take a look. The energy of a Torah portion is really throughout the entire Torah portion, but primarily in the beginning and in the end of the Torah portion. So if you take a look at the last verse of Parshat Re'eh, of last week's Torah portion, the last verse speaks about the holiday of Sukkot. It speaks about all the holidays, and it speaks about the holidays of Sukkot. And the last verse is, we learn out from, not the last verse, but the last few verses. It says, 7 days you should celebrate for me in the place that I have chosen. Talk about the 7 days of Sukkot. And then it says, Vayisa ach sameach, you should be only happy. And the sages learn out from the word ach sameach that comes to add the night going to the 8th day of Sukkot. That the joy you have to have, the simcha, even on that day. And which we really know, which means the Shmini Atzeret joy of that we have all the celebrations on the end of Sukkot. So it's hinted to right over here. It's hinted to in the last verse of Parshas Re'eh. So the Rebbe says, take a look. Why is in the beginning it says, I'm giving you a blessing, and in the end it says the holiday of Sukkot and Shmini Atzeres, is that it's really, really, really giving us the ability to leap ahead and to be in a Simchas Torah state from the very beginning of the month of El. Okay, so good. So this was there for all the years. What does it have to do with 1991? Why did the Rebbe say this in 1991? He taught us for all these years. He never gave us such a shortcut. He never gave us, and the reason is very simple. Because in order to be able to strip the outer layers is impossible. You just decide, this is who I am. What do you mean this is who you are? If this is who you are, why do you care about chocolate? Why is it so important that you have your coffee exactly the way you want? And if you found that for whatever reason your brand of coffee is not available, you're frustrated. Because you have to have coffee, it's a little bit off. Sometimes, if I don't have the coffee and I only have instant coffee, I get very, very upset. It's like, instant coffee? Yeah, who drinks instant coffee? Used to be, that was like the coffee. Today, everybody's a fine schmecker coffee drinker. We have we become all coffee connoisseurs, right? And that's the way it is. So what do you mean you identify? You identify what? Identify what? Take a steer, someone prepared lunch and take it away from them, see what kind of a temper tantrum they're going to have. Because you took away one, so it means you're identifying with your very material, physical self. That's your life. So it doesn't just happen. It takes it in order to identify, connect, and to be a soul, takes a lifetime of work. And even then, if maybe you're lucky, to polish yourself, to really, really be your inner being, not your external being. It doesn't just happen like this. And the truth is, that's right. It's not possible. So it's not like, okay, just do it. But the Rebbe says, that's what's so special from 1991. What's so special? 1991, the Rebbe says, we're living already in the days of Mashiach. We're living that year. I told you, this is so crucial. I mentioned this so many times. In 1990, 1991, we entered into the era of Moshiach. Not a time that Moshiach could come. We essentially entered into the era of Moshiach. Moshiach's times. The Rebbe insisted in 1991, and I'm not going to go into the whole explanation why at that time, because I've just spoken about this in so many classes. But in 1991, we were at that zone. So we entered into that phase in history. And the Rebbe went even further and said that that's going to be the year that Mashiach is revealed, based on many things. And some people ask, but it didn't happen. And if you learn the Rebbe's talks, you see it did happen. Moshiach was revealed that year. The Rebbe said things about himself that time that he would never say any other time. And Chassidim sang to the Rebbe certain expressions and said certain things that they would dare not say, because the Rebbe never let them say things like that. But that year, everything changed. And you'll wonder, well, if that's the case, if we're already in the days of Mashiach for 30 so years, why is there so much suffering and pain and darkness in the world? Well, all of this has been predicted. It says it in Midrash and in many places. There's many sources, and I discussed it many times, that the way Mashiach comes is that he's revealed, and then there is a time of concealment and darkness, and then he's revealed again. So the exile comes in two snippets. First, in two chunks. First, there was an exile, and the exile was close to 2,000 years, for 1,900 years. Then Mashiach arrives. His revelation is a very, very vague revelation. It's a short revelation. It's a revelation. It's almost like he's peeking out and he allows himself to be seen, but then the curtains get closed and we enter into a phase of darkness again. The words of the Midrash, Nigla is revealed, V'nichsan is concealed, V'chayzer v'nigla, and then he's revealed again. Second time he's revealed spectacular for the entire world. But there was a dark period, and we spoke from Rabbeinu Bachai, and I mentioned this in the beginning of the year after October 7th, a couple of times. Rabbeinu Bachai says the reason that Mashiach goes into concealment after he's revealed is to trick the nations. That means that those who think they can stop the messianic process from coming, which means that those who believe that they can stop Israel from having the land of Israel and want to force a Palestinian state, who want to grab and steal East Jerusalem from the Jewish people, who want to prevent the Temple Mount from becoming the Temple Mount where the temple stands, they see that Mashiach, the person or the power of Mashiach in the world, whether consciously or subconsciously, they think he's gone. They think he's down. He fell. He's down. He's down. It says about Mashiach that he's here and then he falls. Bar Nafli, he's in a fallen state. So they think that they've defeated Mashiach. So if anybody knows what happened in 1992 after the Rebbe had a stroke, between 1992 and 1994 is when they had the Madrid conferences, which was the basis, and then actually they had the shake of the hand of Rabin and Lahavdil Elef Avdolus, whatever his name is, Yasser Arafat, Yamach Shemoy, may his name be erased, in which they laid the foundations for the possibility of an exchange of giving land of Israel for peace, which was the most devastating thing which we're suffering till now, because October 7th and everything that's going on is a direct baby. It's a direct child from these concessions, stupid concessions, ridiculous concessions that put the Jewish people in danger, not just in Israel, but in the entire world, and puts the entire world in danger. And Rabbeinu Bachai says that's why it's going to happen, that Mashiach will go down, to allow for those wicked, for the evil in the world to raise to put up its last fight, so to speak. And he says that during that period, anti-Semitism is going to explode in the world. And what are we seeing now? An explosion of anti-Semitism. So literally, we're living through the period after Mashiach was revealed, then he's concealed, and we're waiting for any moment for him to be revealed again. Therefore, now going back to what the Rebbe said, and I added this idea that Mashiach is revealed, concealed from other sources. But what the Rebbe said at that time, the Rebbe says the reason why today's days you can take a leap and you can immediately enter the month of Elul already, not just as a soul, not just as a spiritual being, not just as a soul, not just as a divine being, but as a piece of the essence of God, in which we are super powerful, in which we can conduct the affairs of the entire world. We can command the world from above. We can access the most powerful energies. How can we do that? As we said earlier, a lifetime of work doesn't help you, cannot move you into that place. The Rebbe says, you know why? Because once Mashiach is here, what's Mashiach? Mashiach is the is the collective soul of the Jewish people, which comes to reveal their essence. When Mashiach will come, he will uncover the essence of every soul, because he's the level of essence. And being that every soul is a spark of Mashiach's soul, once Mashiach is revealed, he reveals the spark of Mashiach inside each and every one of us. In other words, a lot of times you have certain, programs in which there are certain things that you can, that certain modes, but the mode is locked. You ever have something, you have a lot, you're trying to, they have these digital buttons you can move. You swipe it to the side and it turns on. But sometimes, for whatever reason, it's not showing that it's movable. The screen is showing you that it's there, but it's blocked and you can't open it. Because that mode is not made exact. Sometimes you have situations where you pay for a program, but you're paying. This StreamYard that I use to make these videos with, that I'm using now, actually sent me today a possibility that I pay, depending on how much money we pay for this channel for using their service. Based on that, I have, if I take the fancy schmancy one and I'm willing to pay $300 a month or whatever it is, then I'll be able to have access to so many more features. Right? And if I only want to pay whatever, that's the way it works. So you see there's features. So those features are locked. During the time of exile, our soul is locked in being small. We're locked into the human state. We're locked into the material state. That's what exile means: constriction, bondage. So we, of course, within that constriction, if you work really hard, you can unconstrict. But how much could you unconstrict already? A couple of layers. When Mashiach comes as a time of revelation, everything will change. We will suddenly experience ourselves, who we really are at our essence. But here's the thing, how? Because Mashiach is the one, it's the super soul. He unlocks, he moves that, he changes it into Geula mode, from Golus mode, from exile mode, he changes it into Geula mode. But what he doesn't do is he himself doesn't unlock every single one of ours. He unlocks it, but the actual swipe to move it to the on, from off to on, or from exile, it's given to each and every one of us. We have the ability, now that he made it accessible to us, we can switch that button. And that's what the Rebbe says we need to tell every single Jew today. Today's days, you have an ability to be the deepest, godliest self. How? Just by recognizing that that's available and saying that's who I am. And then it's a whole different story. You're so powerful. The moment we identify with it, then that's our reality. And something we couldn't do until now, and now we can do. That's what the Rebbe said in 1991. What is special in the year 2024, or in the Hebrew year 5784 that we just passed? The whole talk the Rebbe is giving is that we can already access the lofty level of Shmini Atzeret, which is the level that reveals the essence of the soul. Shmini Atzeret, Simchas Torah. And I'm thinking to myself, boy, oh boy, what happened this year? What identified, what has, what's it called again, characterized the year? Which day of the year has left its deepest impact on the Jewish people this year more than any other event in all of, probably not just in a year, in the last 50 years? Which day has carved itself into the Jewish psyche, and to a certain degree, the world psyche, because the whole world is busy with the Jewish people now? It's the very dark black day known as October 7th. Which day was that on the Hebrew calendar? That was the great holiday of Simchas Torah. Which was shocking, because how can it be on such a holy, happy day something like this should happen? I'm not trying to explain God. I'll let God explain himself whenever he decides to do so. And we all cry out, God, why? It hurts. It hurts very much. But one thing is for sure, there is no question that day rattled the Jewish people, and stripped away the externalities of the Jewish people as a whole, of our entire people that have been so alienated and so disconnected, and so their Judaism was so secondary, and to many people not even secondary, way less than that. And it brought everybody's Judaism. The fact that we are a Jew, it brought it to our forefront. It revealed to us that our essence is Jewish, no matter how we identify on the outside. In other words, because that's what Simchas Torah is. It only happened in a negative way. It took an enormous tragedy that we can't even imagine, but it shook us to our core. And you know what happened to us? We remained in October 7th. I don't want to call it October 7th. I'd rather call it Simchat Torah. We remained in that headspace the entire year. Because we're always thinking about October 7th. We're thinking about Simchat Torah. We're thinking about it. And if we needed another reminder, very painfully this week we had, and almost like the wound was getting a scab already, a little bit, the pain was getting a little bit weaker. And this week, after Shabbos, we all got the horrific news that those 6 beautiful souls that were in captivity for 29 days were so brutally murdered just because they're Jewish. What it really did to the Jewish people is it opened the wound again. It put us right back into the Simchat Torah. So it's a very weird situation. It's painful and dark, but at the same time, there's something so deep there, something so incomprehensible. It's the darkness of the essence. And that's why it's like, what's doing to the entire world is also shocking. It's bringing out the best and the worst in all of humanity. To many, like I saw this ridiculous headline of today about one of the protesters in New York City who cares so much about said that God forbid that this Hirsch Poland deserve to die. Okay. Why? Because he's Jewish. It's like, there's no explanation. If you're Jewish, you deserve to die. It's like crazy. Such vile anti-Semitism. But how can that be? These are progressive people who are so sensitive. The answer is because the entire world notices and recognizes that the Jewish people are something else. Those who love God will love it, and those who have, for whatever reason, a dark soul and have a hard time, are going crazy. But it's really, really, really stunning what it did. However, let's just see the positive of it, the goodness of it. The positive and the goodness is that the entire year we are in that raw space of our essence. If so, when we're coming to the month of Elul, we have now an advantage. Not only is the switch turned on already the last 30 years, that we have access, that we can turn the switch. The events that happened this past year caused us already to turn that switch on, to be in the Simchat Torah mind, in that connecting. Obviously, we didn't live every moment of the year in that oneness with God, but the influence of that day is continuing. It's not stopping because it's lifting and pushing the Jewish people towards the redemption. It's bringing us into the redemption. True, it came about with darkness, but in the darkness is the brightest light. So what we should be happy about, and joyous about, is the enormous empowerment that we have right now to enter into the month of Elul with dynamite, to be so incredibly godly. Just say it to yourself again and again and again. My essence, who I really am, and which is now not just hidden, but is revealed, is the omnipotence of the essence of God. In that sense, there's so much power, there's so much strength. I can do so much good. I can live with so much light and godliness. So may Hashem help us all We should dance right into Mashiach's world. If last year's Elul led us to this, I have no doubt that this year's Elul is going to lead us to such light and such heavenly revelation. May Hashem help us. Everybody should be blessed with the greatest year. We will see the temple, Be'ezrat Hashem, revealed. B'karev, mamish, mamish. Thank you.